All right, Chris and Shea are here. We're putting this podcast up on Independence Day. A lot of people think Independence Day was the day we kicked out the British officially and formed our country. No, it's the day we also fought off the aliens. And the first real scary alien invasion we ever had. This is a bizarrely influential movie. It happens as the summer blockbuster is evolving from Speed and Jurassic Park, and we hit 96, and all of a sudden we get Twister, Mission Impossible, and Independence Day, and it's just Hollywood's kind of figuring this out. But Independence Day figures out a couple things. Human interest stuff, a big-ass star to lead it, load up on the supporting cast, really blow it out, and just do this right. And it's aged really well. Chris, do you think this has been the model now for all these Marvel movies we've been getting in the last 10 years? Is this like is this where it all starts?
There's a lot of evidence for that, right? There's this sense of humor, which I think that they've brought over to the Marvel thing. Maybe not exactly, but that kind of like somewhat improvisatory, all the Goldblum Smith stuff and all the banter there. And then also like the stakes are pretty huge. Like obviously they can't get any bigger than whether or not the planet is going to survive. So yeah, I definitely think it has a lot to do with what came after it, starting around 2008 when Marvel really took off.
Shea, this has everything you want in a movie? I don't know what's missing.
Everything. The only thing that's missing is that I wish at the time we had the technology to do 2 Will Smiths and just put another Will Smith in here. That's the only thing I was missing. I just love every single part of this movie.
Which character would you replace with another Will Smith? Like Secretary of Defense?
I would just add a second Will. Like we have 2 fighter pilots now. That's what we're doing.
Like his twin brother, but it's basically just the same character.
It's Bill Smith.
It's Gemini Man. Just fucking keep cranking out the Wills.
Yeah, let's start with Will Smith. I don't know what his most likable performance is, but I think what's great about this one is he's got the low usage rate. He gets all his shots. He finishes like 16 for 20. He gets to 40 points. He triple doubles it, but he's not in the movie a ton. And when I was rewatching, I was like, man, there's just a lot of people in this movie. And then every time Will Smith's in it, he kills, but you buy him as this guy who could save the world. And I think, Chris, this transforms his career as Bad Boys started it. And then this cements it where this is going to be the biggest movie star we have. Late
spring 95 is Bad Boys. July 96 is Independence Day. July 97 is Men in Black. And it's just like, it's hard to explain to anybody who wasn't there, like what a total like supernova megastar got born in that run right there.
But somebody that we had a history with going back to the late 80s.
Where it was like, we
got to watch it.
It's like getting to see tape of a prospect coming into the NBA, but then like this is when he goes to the finals 3 years in a row.
And you left out Enemy of the State, which
is
like after Men in Black. And that was a banger too. 4 in a row.
I don't know if sweaty Gene Hackman completely took like the zeitgeist the way that Men in Black did. But yeah.
Shea, is he your favorite movie star?
I don't know if he's my favorite. I think Denzel still beats him. But Will Smith is he's in my top 5 for sure, of like just people I will go watch a movie because he's in it. Doesn't matter how many bad ones he makes in a row. It doesn't matter. When they were like, oh, we're going to redo Aladdin and he's going to be the genie. I was like, well, I'm going to go watch that the day it comes out. And then I went and watched that the day it comes out. I love him. I was like, you guys, like I knew him first before even a rapper. When I showed up, he was a sitcom star. I was watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Then I found out he was a rapper, and then I went and listened to his albums. And then he starts doing movies. And when he did Bad Boys 2, I was like, oh, this is the best. This is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And then he comes back with Independence Day. Same as you, Bill. I remember this in my head as a Will Smith movie. And then you go back and you rewatch it and you realize he's not the main
doesn't show
guy
up for
in it.
30 minutes almost.
He's just the one who you're drawn to the most, which is crazy when you look at the cast list on here and you're like, this new guy is the one that you want to see more than everybody else. Every single scene he shows up in, you can't do anything except stare at him.
And they stumble, well, it's intentionally, but they stumble into this Will Smith Jeff Goldblum thing that they're setting up they're moving in 2 separate cars toward the same
Yeah.
the same section of the movie, but you don't realize it. And then they're thrown together and it's like, oh, in the middle of all of this, now I would totally watch just this movie with these two guys. It's like a buddy cop movie.
That's the genius of this movie, is that it's a buddy cop movie, it's a war movie, it's a sci-fi movie, and it's a disaster movie all at the same time. And they spend an inordinate amount of time building up these human relationships so that you actually wind up sort of caring about like the Mary McDonalds, the Judd Hirsches, the other tertiary characters.
Vivica Fox's strip joint, like what happened to that?
Love Jasmine.
Did it survive? This was the second highest grossing movie ever up to that point. 1996, Jurassic was first. And it's off. Roland Emmerich said they did an oral history about the speech, which I know Shea might have a thought or seven on. But he said it's holding up very well, Independence Day, because it has all of these very simple human stories. And he said, Dean, the guy he worked on the movie with, and I met with Steven Spielberg after the film because he wanted to be involved with the ride, which never happened. But he said to us, quote, you guys changed something. There's something different now. Everybody has to see a summer movie differently. And I knew exactly what he meant, which was combining very big images with very humanized stories. And he meant it. At the time, he was shooting Lost World. And he said, we're changing the script now. So this is the 25th anniversary of this movie, but it's also the 25th anniversary of kind of a voila moment, it seems like. And now, how many have we had, Chris? Like, are we over 50 of these kind of movies? 50, 60?
Yeah. I mean, there was a whole run of disaster movies that came after this that I think, that they tried to recapture the magic and even Emmerich himself
to varying degrees.
Yeah, Emmerich himself.
Although
has made
Shea
a couple.
likes Deep Impact, he won't admit it, but I know deep down he likes it.
Oh yeah. Give me Elijah Wood. Give it to me. I'm in.
Sorry, Chris, I interrupted you.
No, not at all. I mean, it's just this movie kind of like I don't think I'd ever seen destruction on this scale when I saw this movie. Like there were disaster movies. There's Poseidon Adventure. There's big movies where like incredible set pieces happen and many people lose their lives. But like I remember like still pretty vividly like seeing the White House and the Empire State Building get lasered, and just there's only there's like 15 times in your life where like I've never seen that before, and it does really cook your pasta when you see it.
Well, you think like it's like the 20-year nostalgia thing, right? Where my generation grew up with like these weird movies like Towering Inferno and all the airport movies, which was that era's version of the disaster movies. And then Airplane came out and made fun of all of them and did multiple sequels. And then that era kind of died for a while.
Yeah, you get 80s hostage movies. Is like not, we basically keep it to Nakatomi Plaza, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like confined terrorist movies, basically. And then everybody ripped off Speed for 8 years, and we had Under Siege and Under Siege 2, and we go through all that. And then with this movie, and really, it kind of starts the year before with Species, where they're like, aliens, what if they came back and started fucking with us?
Well, that's like, there are things in Jurassic Park that you can kind of see getting transferred over, not the least of which Goldblum essentially plays the same character, but there are moments in Jurassic Park, and I think also Jurassic Park being conceived in its inception as this is a blockbuster. This is people are going to have the lunchbox. People are going to see this movie 5 or 6 times. It's going to become a ride. It's going to become a lifestyle for people. That's the same thing that happened with Independence Day, but Independence Day almost is like messier the way it does it, because I think you have to have like, it's a leap of faith to be like, will people really be okay watching thousands, millions of people get killed by aliens and nuclear weapons dropped on them by their own president? And it turns out we were very okay with it.
I remember I had been bartending for like probably a month at a new place. So I was working all the time, and this came out and I didn't have time to see it right away. And it was like, oh, Tuesday I'll go like 3:00. And it's like just nice, easy action movie. Just go in there. And it's just, you leave it. You're like, Jesus Christ. It's almost like a life experience. I got to see the White House blow up on the big screen and all these different things. And Pullman's speech. I'm in some theater in like Revere with,
Next thing
5 other people by themselves.
You're at an Air Force recruitment office.
I'm like, where'd I go? We got to stop these aliens. But it was just really, really satisfying. And then really imitated over and over again. We had two different, what was Deep Impact? What was the other one that was happening at the exact same time?
Armageddon.
Deep Impact versus Armageddon. And it just, people started doing this in all these different ways. Let's talk about...
and now you have basically, I mean, obviously people know this because they've seen all the Batman, DC movies and like the Marvel movies, but you basically can't get away with making one of those movies without being like, and then New York City gets vaporized or this country gets thrown on top of another country by a superhero. So we've become accustomed to it, but it was pretty groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah, I remember with Godzilla, which I did not like.
The Matthew Broderick
That was
one?
the first time I was like, oh, this is kind of Independence Day's fault.
Yeah.
This is, we're heading this way now.
And it's the same director.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I liked about this movie, and especially on the rewatch, Shay, the special effects are good. They don't feel like too good. You know, they feel very rooted in the 90s. They're realistic, but it's not like now where we can just kind of do anything. And it almost, I lose the sense of kind of the wow factor because it just seems like anything is possible. In 96, anything wasn't possible. And you see some of this stuff and you're like, wow, I didn't even, it was a little like when we talked about Terminator 2 and some of the stuff that was going on with Robert Patrick. And then we were like, wow, we can do that in a movie. And I do feel like that was the case with this movie. And that's been lost over the last 25 years, the wow factor of the first time with this movie.
Yeah, it feels so cool when you're watching it to see Will Smith climb up on the ship and open the hatch, and then the alien comes out, and you're like, oh, he was really on a ship that they made, and that's a real alien that was coming out that he punches. It just, it feels a little more tactile.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's not as crisp.
Another moment like that is when New York's about to get destroyed, when the ship shows up over New York, and the cop stops his cop car, and all the cars hit the back of the cop car. Yeah. And then the truck hits the cop car. And that's pretty real. Like that whole like car sequence is real, even though all the alien stuff obviously is CGI.
And also even the stuff where a lot of people gathering in a place, right? They really used real people. Now they would just fake all of it. The fact that we've had so much UFO shit in real life recently.
Where's your head at with that, Bill?
Change how you watch this at all? Like in 96, it's like, oh shit, they're going with Area 51. In the 90s in general, there was
X-Files.
There was a little fun refascination with that whole alien thing. And it was a little like, do you believe it? You would talk about it when you're out wherever. But you never really knew. But now in the last 2 years, we've found out a lot.
What
not
did
only
we
are
find
they
out?
not hiding this. They're not hiding this stuff anymore. They're like, we have a lot of unexplained,
what did we find out?
unexplained, unidentified flying objects that we don't know what the fuck they are. The Navy and Air Force, they're all like.
Can we talk about this for a second?
Yeah, let's do it.
I was really hoping that somebody would bring this up.
I totally am open to the idea that we are not alone in the universe. But what I don't understand is how we can have such great quality footage of everything in existence except for aliens.
Yeah.
And then the aliens are the ones that we have like the blurry photo that may or may not be a UFO.
Yeah.
But for everything else, it's just like, no. Here, we can slow this down and watch Cam Payne's hand touch a basketball for a split hair second.
But you can't catch that one spaceship that flew over.
But nobody is ever
New Jersey.
pointing a camera at the sky. It's always like a guy with a Polaroid that like it didn't quite develop.
Shay, most of these happen not in Texas, but somewhere near
Southwest,
Texas.
Right?
Yeah, Southwest.
Don't put that on us.
No, Southwest is a big alien frenzy place.
I don't know what is going on. The thing that always made me laugh about that is when I was younger, I was like super interested in all of this stuff, and I was like, you would get books from the library, and they would have still pictures in there, and you're like, oh, that's definitely a UFO or whatever. And then as we've moved further and further along, and now everybody has an HD camera in their pocket, we've gotten less and less of those, and that makes me feel like maybe those original ones aren't real. I don't know.
Maybe part of me also, I think, is resistant to the ideas of aliens visiting or aliens existing because, like, other than E.T. and Close Encounters, we just don't have a ton of like good alien experiences in pop culture. Like, they're more often than not bursting through your chest like an alien. So I'm not like anxious for them to show up. You know?
See, I want like a Mac and Me experience.
Exactly.
I don't want an Arrival experience.
Starman was good for that.
That was yeah.
I feel like Starman's heart was in the right place.
Do aliens like? Do your kids bring up aliens? Are they like, Dad? Do you think aliens exist? They don't care.
Yeah, it's weird because for the TikTok generation, you would think it would have like a whole run. I feel like it hasn't totally happened yet. But in this movie, when they go to Area 51, and they really go for it in the movie, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we got to go down 24 floors to get the crazy doctor. And it's like, let me show you the ship. And it's like, here are the aliens in jar cases. And you're just like, you think this is really what it's like? And now I kind of feel like maybe Area 51 existed. I've watched this movie, I don't know how many times, but this was the first time I watched it where I was like, that's probably pretty close to home here.
I feel like we're so far along, just so far into the internet and down the internet hole, that if aliens did show up, like indisputable proof, an alien pulls up right outside my house right now and like comes down and is walking around in my backyard or in somebody's backyard, I feel like there would be 3 or 4 minutes only of everybody freaking out, and then immediately it would be on Twitter and we would be making fun of it. And it'd be like, this is what it looks like when you're out too late with your friends. And it's like a picture of an alien doing a weird pose. Ha ha ha. Like, I think we would go straight into that.
Yeah. You know people would zag on aliens. They'd be like, this is a disappointment.
Yeah.
Aliens are overrated.
Well, we can catch James Harden coming out of a gentleman's club at 3 a.m. with a cell phone, but never an alien, not once. Can't get that one alien who's just like, I'm going to float around here in New Jersey. This was a weird era for movies where they decided every alien had to look as just bizarre and crazy as possible. It starts in the 80s. It goes to the 90s. It's not just like Robert Patrick, where being able to just put a cop suit on, it has to be like tentacles and weird faces and make them
really wet,
crazy as possible.
Yeah. A
lot of wet aliens.
There's a lot of lube used in this movie. Yeah,
seriously. Best presidents ever in a movie.
I was going to get to this in Apex Mountain, but yeah,
we've litigated this before. I just wanted to tell America yet again. I don't know what the Mount Rushmore is. I don't know if we're allowed to cross. Is it movies and TV? Is it just movies? Whatever. But if it's just movies, I think the 4 most important movie presidents were Michael Douglas, an American president, which we did on this podcast, Kevin Kline and Dave, Pullman and Independence Day. And then the 4th spot is really wide open for what you want. That's like where you can learn more about almost the individual person, who their 4th spot is. For me, it's Jeff Bridges in The Contender, because I just feel like I just wish that was my president, Jeff Bridges in The Contender. I liked how he carried himself. He just seemed very presidential, but other people would have Morgan Freeman in Deep Impact, or I don't know. Who do you have, Chris? Who's your 4th?
Well, I mean, you got a special dispensation for Jeb Bartlett from West Wing, even though I know that
he doesn't count. It's got to be movies.
Okay.
Because if you're going then I want Haysbert from 24 too. I thought he was amazing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I kind of think, I feel like Haysbert and Bartlett are really have a shout at being on Rushmore then.
No question. TV movie Rushmore, I think both of them have really strong cases.
Do you like any film representation of Kennedy a lot? Worth putting it on there?
No, it's been more, I think, more
fictional presidents.
It's never
so
really worked.
Not Daniel Day-Lewis being like, no. Okay.
No. Shea, who's your 4th?
I have a whole different 4 than what you presented. My 4 looks totally different than what you were saying. Every name you threw out there, I was a little surprised. I have Independence Day president on my 4. He's in there. But I also have Harrison Ford in Air Force One.
Yeah.
Like I like a president that can fight.
Sure.
So give me him. Give me Jamie Foxx in White House Down, because I want him to be able to use a gun.
White House Down.
And give me Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Wait, he's great. He's great in that. I need him and Channing Tatum taking out the bad guys.
Kevin Kline taught us how to redo a budget, and Dave,
I don't care.
America.
I need somebody who can handle an assault
Do you actually
rifle.
want him to legislate? Like, do you actually want like actual work being done, or do you just want somebody who's going to give a cool speech if aliens show up?
Every time a president shows up in a movie, it's because some bad shit is happening. So I want somebody who can handle himself.
Shea, I'm going to hurt your feelings.
Go for it.
I've only seen White House Down once. Do I need to double back and try that one again?
Yeah, definitely. You need it. It's better than you remember. It's also sillier than you remember. It's like super silly to watch now.
I liked it in the theater, but that was it. It
actually
was so ridiculous.
Partial to Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah, that's fair. That whole set of movies, go for it.
So Pullman does some stuff in this movie. First of all, for the first 45 minutes, you're like, how the fuck was this guy the president? What's going on here? Is he doing like an indie movie? What's happening? Why is this so understated? He doesn't seem very presidential. And then the second half of the movie, he rises to the occasion. I don't know if that was a deliberate move by him or what happens, but the speech becomes the iconic moment of the movie and he crushes it. Also, I love the fact that he goes and fights, which is great. I just really like him. And I think after this movie, Chris, we thought he was probably going to be like an A+ lister, right? It seemed like there was going to be, and it kind of never happened. I never understood why.
He seemed like he was in the Harrison Ford zone of that kind
like
of
the new Harrison Ford.
Ruggedly handsome leading man. And he's had a really good career as being like kind of a journeyman character actor, and he's on The Sinner or whatever. But like, it never really like popped off on like a full, he's like a movie star thing.
Shea, I'm going to give you his next movies after Independence Day.
Go for it.
Lost Highway.
Mm-hmm.
The End of Violence.
Mm-hmm. Say the one I want.
Merry Christmas, George Bailey, which was a TV movie.
Uh-huh. Almost there.
Zero Effect. Lake Placid.
There it is.
And Broke Down Palace.
He's so good. Yeah. Lake Placid just in general is so good.
Lake Placid's fucking rules.
I really do like Lake Placid. But it never happened. He never had like, if this had been Costner in the late 80s, he does No Way Out, but then all of a sudden he's in Untouchables, Field of Dreams, and it's just kind of going.
Lake Placid is one of those movies that you could show someone now and you just be like, you guys don't understand. Pullman, Oliver Platt, Bridget Fonda, and they would just be like, the only person I recognize in this movie is Betty White.
Yeah, there's some Mariska Hargitay in Lake Placid as well.
Pullman is a hard movie star to like figure out because the stuff that he does that he's good at is not the stuff we're used to people being good at. Like he's good in those empty moments. He's good in the like little looks. He's good in a quick like. Let me get a quick joke off that you didn't realize was a joke until it detonates in the back of your head a few seconds later. That's why he's so perfect in Lake Placid, because he's able to play up all of those things. That's why when he shows up here, you're kind of like, he's a little wormy to be the president. Yeah. But then he really turns it on at the end. You're like, oh, I get it. I get it now.
There's a genuine quality about him. Like in Sleepless in Seattle, Meg Ryan is basically like, hey, not only are we not getting engaged, there's this guy I've been emailing with, and I'm going to go meet him on the top of a tower. I think I'm in love with him. He's like, cool, follow your heart.
Yeah.
There's not like, wait, fuck you. I spent
He's like, maybe I'll start wearing my hair different.
He has Malice, which I think Malice is a really good movie. Alec Baldwin, Nicole Kidman, and he's kind of the husband that doesn't, I don't want to spoil it, but he's kind of the same guy in every movie, and maybe there's only like a 6-7 year shelf life for that would be my theory. I don't know.
Shea, if you wrote Pullman and Other Things, do you think we could get it into the Amazon bestseller list?
I think we could do it. I think so.
The speech, it never really made that. This is the Jumbotron era of speeches in NBA games when these movies go to another level with Braveheart and some of these other ones. This one never made the Jumbotron era because it's about human destruction. It just would have been weird to play when you're up one with 20 seconds.
It has no relationship to fucking basketball. That's
right. But same kind of inspiring. He builds. He's got all the people captivated around him, and then he does "We will not go quietly into that night."
Yeah,
we will not vanish without a fight. And it's just like you're so fired up by the end of it. I feel like the Sixers might have blown an opportunity when Ben Simmons was really, really falling apart in those last two home games. Maybe you should throw Independence Day on the monitor, Chris.
I've been to basketball games where they put that on, and you actually listen to the speech. You're like, this has no relevance to what I'm actually seeing.
But Shea, you did a thing. Didn't you do a thing in your book about movie speeches? I vaguely remember.
I'm sure I did.
I think you did something about this speech, didn't you? Am I imagining this?
I don't know if I did. I should have.
You wrote about it for Grantland? I feel like you did a thing about this speech.
Listen, I love it. I love it.
Okay.
It makes me excited. when he gets to yelling, this is again, he starts out quiet and soft and then he turns it on at the end and you keep falling for it every time he does it.
Yeah.
And when he decides to like, I'm going to go fight aliens in this jet, at that point you're like, well, I believe it because I just saw the other part. Let's fucking go. We're going to be all right.
Emmerich said that he talked to Pullman before the movie, and Pullman said, I'm going to play this a little bit like a John Wayne figure, maybe a little bit unsure of himself, but at the end, he's very sure of what he has to do. And then Waldman, one of the people behind the scenes of the movie, said, Hollywood, I thought this is a really good point. Hollywood over the decades has had this very interesting relationship with presidents. And Hollywood's often portrayed the presidents it wish it had. Liberal Hollywood usually felt uncomfortable in some way with Bill Clinton personally. A lot of liberals in Hollywood thought Bill Clinton was a compromiser. And so Bill Pullman caught up there and told it like it is, said what he really thought, which everyone dreamed the real president would do. It is funny when this happens, because people in 96, they were so disappointed in the first 4 years of Clinton. Like the potential of him versus where we were. And it is funny when that kind of bleeds into real life. Where you watch the movie and you're like, I wish that guy was the president.
Like his first scene with Connie, she's just like, remember when you had ideals and now it's just like politics, and it's like that is kind of how government works. It's not just like you could just walk in and be like, here's how we're gonna do.
I don't know how they would have done Independence Day in 2020. Would have been interesting with our president.
I'm surprised Trump's not in this movie.
He's Randy Quaid.
Yeah.
The film, it won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. It was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Sound. It won a Grammy for its score. It had a $75 million budget. It made $817 million. What do you think Chris Ryan thought? What do you think Roger Ebert thought of this movie, Chris Ryan?
Grudgingly accepted it, so probably like 2.5 stars.
2.5 stars.
Okay.
From Raj.
Incredible.
He thought the special effects are elaborate and pervasive, but they aren't outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
But such a snob sometimes, Raj. We have a $75 million budget and made $817 million. So there you go. What's interesting about this movie is I had one rewatchable scene through the first 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of character development, Shea.
Yes.
A lot. We're really, really getting some backgrounds. You don't think you're fine. You think this movie wasn't too long?
No, I think it was 30 minutes too short. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. The scene where Will is waking up and doing like his morning routine, that should have been 40 minutes just of him doing that.
I had for most rewatchable scene. First one, the spaceship arrives.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, wait, and it's just gigantic. I'm trying to imagine, like, I don't feel like the people were scared enough just at really any point in this movie. Like, I'm in Boston right now. If just this giant spaceship just kind of hovered over the entire city and made everything dark, I'm positive I would be scared.
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't walk outside and be like, you think you're better than me?
maybe they would do that in Boston. I like the special effects, though. The next one is Goldblum warning the president about what's really going on right as the welcome wagon got demolished. And you knew the guy was in trouble. It was like, how many black characters are in this movie, Shea? Like 5?
Not
and you
enough.
knew it's like, oh, that pilot, he's dying. So the welcome wagon, which for some reason they're not scared enough either. Nobody's scared of this giant spaceship. It's very bizarre.
One issue I have with this movie is that nobody ever questions the orders they're given. They're just kind of like, I guess I got to go fly up to this spaceship. Like,
hopefully I can win with my small plane against this 15-mile spaceship. Next one I have for rewatchable, Time's Up. When the clock goes down, Goldblum says time's up. Everything starts blowing up, Shea. Everything. Every single thing in the movie is blowing up. Somehow you know the dog's going to survive, though. Vivica A. Fox's dog. That thing. We'll watch hundreds of thousands of people blow up in 2 minutes, but that fucking white lab is making it.
Boomer.
Yeah, he's making it. Next one is the aborted Air Force attack. Will Smith's just on fire. Oh, no, you don't shoot that brain shit at me. We get Harry Connick Jr. dies. Jimmy! We get the parachute move, and then we get him punching the alien. Welcome to Earth. Shea, I had this later. I'll do it now. Can aliens really get concussed like that? What's the ruling?
If Will Smith punches you, yes. All of this, all of the stuff we're going to talk about for me, it all leans toward Will Smith. Like any best scene is going to have him in there. That stretch you're talking about there, when I watched this the first time, I was 15, 16 years old or whatever. It was the single coolest thing I had ever seen, ever. The coolest guy on the planet. He's a fighter pilot. He's not afraid of these. He's not only not afraid of the aliens, he's talking shit to them.
That's the thing.
Which I always appreciated. I'm a big Reggie Miller guy. He beats him in an air fight. Gets out, tells him that's what you get. That's what you get, motherfucker. Goes to the ship, punches him. He gives him 2 one-liners, not one.
Yeah.
Welcome to Earth.
Counter one-liner.
Boom, and then I thought of another one, and then he does another one, and then he's dragging him through the desert,
and the whole
still
dragging
talking shit to him.
It's just like a one-man show. Like that's where Will Smith becomes Will Smith, is when he's dragging that alien across the flats, and he's just like, "What's that smell?" It's like it's
that's
amazing.
The exact moment. That's the moment when you're like, "This guy will be in my life forever."
What current NBA star could have pulled off that entire Will Smith sequence? Trae Young?
Oh, just like shit talking?
Irrational confidence, shit talking. Like you said, Reggie Miller, he's retired. I feel like it's Trae Young. It's definitely not Ben Simmons.
Would you
Ben
send
Simmons
Jay Crowder against the alien?
Jay Crowder gets a flagrant one.
Yeah.
Next one is the Area 51 scene. It's good. It's just, I always it's like where there's a secret room or a secret building and you have to go down. You have to go, there's a staircase or an elevator down. Great stuff.
Get a little Adam Baldwin. Yeah.
Adam Baldwin. It's like, oh, this guy. Opening the alien's head I had as a rewatchable scene when all of a sudden there's that other alien. It's a little Quato, Total Recall-y, tiny bit.
Yeah.
You got the second one in there and then he's just not friendly. That's my takeaway. Not a friendly second alien. He's talking through the humans, die. And then they go, is this glass bulletproof? Boom. And then
people don't know this about me and Greenwald, but on the watch, he actually has his fingers wrapped around my voice box and he just squeezes out my takes. Yeah.
The speech, which is my vote for most rewatchable. Pullman said basically they filmed it. They were going to edit the speech, but they had forgotten to do the final edits on it. So then Pullman just did it and it was written a little longer and he crushed it. And a lot of the first take of the speech is just what the movie is. And one of the things that they talk about is like when they're cutting around to the people watching it, their reactions are pretty genuine because they're in real life going like, oh, Bill Pullman's kind of killing this. So they're kind of like watching him in awe as he's doing it. And then they're reacting and they were smart enough to keep it. Devlin said the only thing we changed from that rough draft was we added at the last minute the line, today we celebrate our Independence Day, because the studio was starting to change the title to Doomsday. And we thought, let's get Independence Day into this speech. As you know, Chris, as I've said a million times, I love when the title it's in the movie.
But it's also when the title is in the movie and also the date of the movie's release. Like how it's the trifecta.
they crushed it all the way across. 3 more rewatchable scenes. Will takes off in the plane and it accidentally goes backward and we get him and Goldblum and Goldblum's like, what the fuck's, he has to flip the direct, he flies out. And I just like being in the plane with those guys.
No oops. Yeah.
Quaid kills everybody. And then they nail the comeback landing. Great job. Great camera work. I like Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum, the only guy in Hollywood other than maybe Clint Eastwood who's as tall as Will Smith for the walk back. So it's not like a Manute Bol, Muggsy Bogues situation. They're smoking the cigars. We get the ladies running to them. It's like, I think Top Gun did it the best, but this is really, really way up there. Shea, do you have any other favorite? The good guys have landed, and now they're
Shea
being
and I are
going to
agree that there is a one better spaceship landing, good guys have returned to Earth moment.
What is it? Armageddon?
It's
Armageddon. Is it going to say Armageddon?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I was going to throw out there. Give me that one too.
It's like because
give us a fourth for Mount Rushmore.
Well, it's definitely Armageddon, Independence Day, and Top Gun. That's 3. Shea, do you have another one?
Of the good guys after they land
coming back.
I'm trying to think of like an airplane hijacking type movie. Thursday. Maybe. All right. Well, somebody's got to make it now.
I mean, you got to throw Captain Phillips up there.
No, you don't.
Captain Phillips. All right. What do you have for most rewatchable, Shea?
You know, I tipped my hand a little bit here with the Will Smith thing. That's going to be my pick because I just watching him in the desert is so much fun. It's like the one clip I can go from this movie and watch it on YouTube. Somebody did like a really great thing where because they happen separate from each other, but they take the air fight and then the desert scene and they stitch them together. So it's just like 1 3-minute video. You can watch just the Will Smith part, which I love. The speech is really great, but I treat the speech the same way I treat like the big reveal and Knives Out, where I can't only watch that. I have to watch everything leading up to it so that it feels how it's supposed to feel. So I can't just go watch the speech. But I do want to say the part where everything blows up, the first time you see it, especially, again, I was 15, 16 years old when this happens. I'm able to like watch on the screen and recognize the places that we're talking about. Yeah. I'm in high school. So I'm like, oh, the White House is like this sacred building where nothing bad can happen. And then you watch it explode. They do the White House, the Capitol building, Empire State Building, Statue of Liberty. And these are like places you recognize as a child. And it's so wild to watch them get blown up. That part, it was just like, holy fucking shit. This is, I don't like you're pressed to the back of your seat in the theater watching this crazy thing happen. It felt real in that moment, you know?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's weird. It's now living in LA for a while. You recognize so much of the LA stuff when Vivica's trying to get out of LA. She's like stuck in that tunnel downtown when the flames come through and Boomer and her and Dylan go into the maintenance closet. But yeah, I think for me the rewatchable scene is still the speech. And it's both because of the speech. It's also because like right before that, he's like, I'm going to fly a plane too, which is like, that's sick. The president is also going to fly. And then when he does the speech, you're just like, even last night, I watched the speech and I was like, I'm going to go pick up some litter. Like, I want to go contribute. I want to do something.
Pick up some litter.
The director Roland Emmerich, he does this in he's got a lot of movies where he blows shit up. So he does it here. We mentioned Godzilla. He does it in The Day After Tomorrow. Yeah. He does it in 2012. Like, he's so good at showing you a thing and then exploding it and making you feel something.
I wonder I would love to know like how that became like his signature thing. Like, what's he like? What's he like to watch like Game 5 of the Clippers Sun series with? Or is he just thinking of just blowing up the arena?
Yeah. I would love to blow up
through explosions?
Phoenix Suns arena. It would be great to blow that up.
He's just like, wow, the basketball court would just blow straight up? Or you're like, hey, settle down, Roland. What's age the best? What's age the best? We mentioned earlier, Area 51 and the UFOs has aged wonderfully. This is now in the zeitgeist. 60 Minutes is doing UFO pieces. You mentioned, I just love Will Smith dragging the concussed alien body. Fucking kills me. It's funny every time. I don't know what's great about it. It's just really good. It's inspired. I can't believe somebody thought of it. It's just great stuff. The Austin Powers movies where they do the staring in the sky, kind of scared and in awe joke of just, wait, what is that? Is that somebody's? And then it cuts to the next person like, dick.
Yeah.
Is clearly ripped off from this movie, but when I see the staring in the sky, I always think of the Austin Powers thing. You mentioned the cast, loaded, Goldblum, Hirsch, Robert Loggia, my guy, Bill Pullman, James Rebhorn.
I was just gonna say
we're gonna have a big that guy litigation with him later. Randy Quaid, Margaret Collin, who we'll talk about in 1 second. Vivica Fox, Harry Connick. Your guy Baldwin, Adam Baldwin.
That's right.
And then obviously Will Smith, but really, really good cast. Margaret Collin, I feel like it didn't totally happen for her the way it should have. It's upsetting to me.
So what happens after Independence Day for her?
So here's what I went and studied her IMDb. I think she got market corrected by ER is what happened.
Okay.
So just to give you some background. 1994, NBC's making ER, CBS is making Chicago Hope. These are two medical dramas set in Chicago both trying to do the modern version of St. Elsewhere.
Right.
And it's clear one of them is going to be a hit, and you just don't know which one. And it becomes ER. But she is one of the people on Chicago Hope.
Can we just say...
So it's basically like she at least should have been Juliana Margulies, but, Margulies ends up in ER. ER does better.
Chicago Hope was good, too.
It was really good.
Patinkin, Margaret Collin, Pete Berg was on that show, right?
Pete Berg. I'm gonna read you the cast right now. You had that. Patinkin was the star. Adam Arkin.
That's right.
I was kind of enjoyed him. Hector Elizondo, fresh off of a couple years after Pretty Woman.
Right.
We're just really doing some great stuff with Roberts. Bondi Curtis Hall. Always liked him. Christine Lottie. Mark Harmon. And our girl Carla Gugino was in there for the last couple of years.
That's right. That's right.
But it just was always in the ER shadow. But I always really liked her. I think she's really good in this movie.
She's good in she was in Veep a couple years ago. She's awesome. And I wish she'd done more movies, but she's pretty cool.
She's got some good scenes in Unfaithful, which I know Shea probably hasn't seen with Diane Lane. As
I have not seen that one.
Diane Lane's friends who's talking about affairs. I like her. Another What's Age the Best. This is it. I think Independence Day, I don't know if it invented it, but it perfected it. The aggrieved guy who's in charge of something, the scene starts out where they're walking and he's like, this better be good.
Yeah.
And then there's like something, and then they show him something and he's like,
there's like three people in this movie who are like, you just woke me up in the middle of the night. Right. What do you want? And it's like, you're a submarine captain. Maybe don't sleep too deeply.
I love that this better be good guy.
Your whole job is and you're a sub-captain. It's probably important.
Your job is to solve crises. That's what the money's for, buddy. This better be good. I love those. And then I mentioned 1990s special effects. What else? Anything else aged the best for you guys?
I gotta say, we can have the Rebhorn conversation a little bit later, but Nimziki as like a kind of the subtle villain of this movie for the three. That's his name, right? The Secretary of Defense Nimziki.
Yep.
For the 3/4 of the movie that he plays that, he's kind of great and needed. Like you need somebody who's like pushing buttons, being annoying, kind of has like the different take. And then throughout this movie, that character is kind of like, he's negging Bill Pullman a lot. He's like, you fucked up. You could have ordered the evacuations and everybody died. So now you got to let me nuke Houston.
It's honestly reminded me so much of working with Fennessy. just a lot of second guessing and like a kind of evil, smarmy side.
That's right.
Is very similar to that. Rebhorn, let's just do it now.
Let's do it. My favorite all-time Rebhorn, and people may have heard this Rewatchables episode, is he is fantastic in the game. I love him in the game.
So I'm going to read you from 91 on, basically. He rips off a That Guy Run. That is out of control. He's in My Cousin Vinny. He's one of the doctors in Basic Instinct.
Oh, yeah.
He's the evil principal in Scent of a Woman. Who doesn't trust Chris O'Donnell. And then Pacino has to come in and do that. Take a flamethrower. He's in Carlito's Way.
Yes. He's the DA.
He's in 8 Seconds, Guarding Tess, and I Love Trouble in 1994. Now it's really going. He's in White Squall, Up Close and Personal, If Lucy Fell, and Independence Day, all in 1996. And then it all leads to The Game. He's D.A. Hoyt in the Seinfeld finale. And then my personal favorite Rebhorn, Talented Mr. Ripley. He's Dickie Greenleaf's dad.
That's right.
Herbert Greenleaf.
He also then goes on to have an amazing turn on Homeland where he plays Carrie's dad.
He's Rebhorn, and I don't know when he became James Rebhorn, but in my opinion, not a that guy.
If you were ever going to change pants, the name of the pants award, you could call it the Rebhorn.
Rebhorn, I encourage everybody to go look at Rebhorn's 1990s. Any other What's Age the Best for you, Shea, other than stuff we've mentioned?
The one scene in this that I really like, or the one character, or the one like thing that happens in these sorts of movies all the time, is the scene where like somebody recognizes the thing before everybody else, this crazy thing that's about to happen, and they have to tell other people. And I really I greatly enjoy watching that because I always feel like I would do a better job of explaining it than whoever the other person is. The only time I was watching it and I saw that character and I didn't feel like that is when Paul Giamatti does it in San Andreas, and he's like he's telling them about the earthquake, and he's like, "You will feel it on the East Coast," and I was like, "Oh fuck, that's a big earthquake."
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't try to science it up. He was just like, "This is going to be terrible."
It's the Paul Revere character.
I love that. Yeah. I love that in a movie. I love that when it happens here.
The only other thing I would mention for What's Age the Best is the fact that quite clearly Goldblum and Smith are just improvising their dialogue for like the second half of the movie.
They didn't have a script for the last 20 minutes.
The second half of the movie is like, we're going to fly a spaceship into another spaceship and give it a computer virus, and we have to also shoot a nuke into it. So it's like kind of heady. And when just getting those guys to do their banter and do their lines is great.
Great title too. Wanted to mention that. Independence Day. Great job. Comes out on Independence Day. Just great stuff. Really smart. What's Age the Worst? There's some bad Independence Day ripoffs. Volcano.
Probably its influence on culture has not been a positive.
I'm treading carefully because Shea likes all of these movies. I don't want to set off Shea. Shea will get upset. He takes this personally. Even when we go into like the Lake Placid Anaconda
Lake
world,
Placid's
like just
good.
I know. Just be careful when you mention these movies to Shea that you might think isn't good because he likes them. But there was this weird run of just things blowing up, and Godzilla I think is also a blow up movie, even though it was Godzilla. But it definitely tried to emulate all this stuff. Randy Quaid's career. Randy Quaid just got super weird in real life. Like maybe all time. Didn't murder anybody, but still crazy weird.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see him in any movie now where I just think about how fucking weird he is.
Especially when he's behaving like this, because you're just like, oh, you weren't
it's
really
like,
acting.
Oh, you're not acting.
Right.
Independence Day 2 is in the What's Age the Worst. I don't know how you make a sequel to this movie and Will Smith's not in it. There's no acceptable explanation.
They could have waited him out. It sucks. It's like they basically make the movie and Micah Monroe plays Patricia, who's Pullman's daughter in the movie, but instead of using Mae Whitman, who was the actual actress who's in the movie and then winds up being on like lots of TV shows. She's on Good Girls. But yeah, they should have just waited Smith out. He wanted $50 million to make 2 of them, right?
Yep.
And then like there was like protracted negotiations, and then he was going to do it, but he had to do Suicide Squad. It's just like they should have.
It's a mess. And then he ended up. When they finally were like, hey, we're really doing this. You want in? And he's like, I can't. I got to make After Earth. So it's like a double loss. Yeah. Even Shea didn't like After Earth. Shea likes every movie.
I did not like Double Earth. Nor did like Godzilla, since you mentioned it.
It would be like if they're like, hey, we're making a sequel to the Duncan Pop Spurs. But we can't get Duncan, but we've got a bunch of the other guys.
Yeah.
But Duncan's not
we got Malik Rose.
Yeah. And like, what is this? Oh, wait, Speedy Claxton's in. It's like, what's happening? More What's Age the Worst. So this movie is basically blamed for the trend of buying Super Bowl airtime to promote blockbusters, if you were wondering. They spent $1.3 million on their commercial for Super Bowl 30, and that led to 25 years of the Super Bowl just being weird action movie commercials combined with whatever new product somebody is coming in. They actually did a really good marketing campaign for this movie where they spent $30 million. They had all kinds of product placement. They had the toys ready to go. They did a deal with Apple. Like some of that stuff was really smart. And some really good trailers too, where they were like, I don't know if you remember these, but it was like, we've always believed we weren't alone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On July 4th, we'll wish we were.
Yeah.
There was also the release of this movie. They put it out like limited in theaters like 2 days early, right? Like, wasn't there like a whole thing where it was like that whole week you could kind of see Independence Day, and then finally by the weekend, I'm sure there were people who were seeing it by then, like the second time by the time the weekend rolled around.
My last What's Age the Worst. There's a ripoff Keanu Reeves character.
I got you here, Bill.
Miguel.
Well, I would just
played
say
by James Duvall, and it's just bad. The character's bad. It's like, is this like Keanu Reeves' brother?
It feels like
did he just
midway
study
through
Bill and Ted's Adventure? What is this?
Midway through the movie, they decided not to make that kid a fighter pilot or something. Like,
right.
But they were like, but we've already shot all these scenes of Randy Quaid's. Like, why is there a scene where Randy Quaid's youngest son gets car sick? And it's like when you want to know why a movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes or whatever, it's because of scenes like that. And then you're just like, I didn't need to know that kid got carsick. Also, the daughter just disappears.
If you're making this movie shorter, which I know Shea is morally against, I'm dumping all the Randy Quaid kid stuff. All we need with him is the scene in the diner where it's like,
yeah,
you don't need to know that fun of him, and he's like, I'm molested by aliens. Wrong
field. All that stuff is stupid.
That's good. I don't need any of the other stuff. Yeah. That guy is a bad character. There's been some great Miguels in movies and TV, including recently in Cobra Kai. That was, I think, not on the Miguel Mount Rushmore. Casting what ifs. Boy, this is, whew. Do you know who the president was supposed to be, Shea?
I do not. Tell me. Somebody good?
Do you know, Chris?
I don't.
It was Kevin Spacey.
Oh, right. But he wasn't a big enough movie star, right?
Fox refused to cast him. They didn't think he had the potential to be a big enough star. Rewrote the part for a Bill Pullman type, and it ended up being Bill Pullman. I'm just glad Kevin Spacey's not the president in this movie. That's complicated for a lot of reasons. Don't really like that guy. That would have sucked. Ali Walker was supposed to play Margaret Collins' character. Is it Colin or Colin?
I think it's Colin.
Colin, yeah. And then Colin ended up, she did a casting thing, jokingly told the casting assistant she was 22. The person actually wrote down that as her age. She almost didn't get the part. She was actually like 38. So she gets it. Shea, your girl Jada Pinkett was supposed to be the Vivica A. Fox thing, but had a scheduling conflict with the Nutty Professor.
Oh.
Yeah.
But ends up with Will Smith anyway.
There you go. There's the universe working for you.
What a fairy tale.
I couldn't confirm this, but this was in my research. This is why this is always half-assed. Matthew Perry originally offered the role of Captain Jimmy Wilder.
Raven.
But pulled out at the last minute. It feels conceivable. It's right around Friends had taken off for a year.
So I'm
willing to believe it.
Do we think that that he would have done the role exactly the way Harry Connick did? Because if not, if he was going to be asked to do that, I think he made the right choice.
Yeah.
Do you think he just would have been Chandler? Like, could these aliens be any more annoying? And just
do we have to get in the plane? Chandler? Do we really have to fly?
When they did REM's and It's the End of the World as We Know It, originally that was supposed to be Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. And that did not happen. That's it. That's all. I thought there would be more casting what ifs, but they really weren't. They knew who they wanted for this. The Joey Pants Award for Best That Guy. So we're saying Rebhorn's not eligible, right?
I think he's in too much of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. How about Dan Lauria, the dad from The Wonder Years?
Yeah, Lauria's in there.
That's a good pick.
As the Best That Guy? Do you have somebody else, Chris?
Well, I mean, there's people who are like quickly in the movie, like Leland Orser, who is also in Seven, in a very famous scene in Seven, is in the surgery room. Yeah, with the doctor.
That's a good one. Let's do him. I like Leland Orser.
Okay, Leland Orser.
Because Dan Lauria is the dad from The Wonder Years. The Vincent Hanna, Give Me All You Got a Word. It has to be Harvey Fierstein.
Yes.
He is.
He's awesome. I get so excited when he shows up.
Another character who gets like a half an hour of screen time and dies.
Yeah. They're just like, the last time you see him, there's a big flame coming toward him and he just has his mouth open. The Judd Nelson Award. Oh, go ahead.
We haven't really mentioned Mary McDonnell yet.
It's coming.
Okay.
The Judd Nelson Award for the person who just seems like they're in a completely different movie. I got to give it to my guy, Judd Hirsch. I don't really know what movie he's in, but he's in like a rom-com where he's trying to stop a wedding or something, but doesn't seem to realize that there are bigger stakes. I don't know what's going on with him in this movie. I love Judd Hirsch.
Do you think that in real life, like what would happen was like, let's say Jeff Goldblum gets all the way into the White House and then is like, here's the information you guys need to know about this signal. And they're like, great, thanks so much. Does that automatically warrant a seat on Air Force One? To like get out of like, or do you think they're just like,
see later?
You can get like the third helicopter out. You know,
right.
Like,
can we call you an Uber? How you getting back to your house?
Yeah. Take your Plymouth.
Dion Waiters Award. It's for me between Connick.
This is a category of one.
James Rebhorn and Judd Hirsch if you wanted to get creative. But I think this is Connick.
Connick pretends to kiss Will Smith's ass, literally.
Yeah.
Does an impersonation of the Reverend Jesse Jackson and then dies.
Yeah.
That is Dion Waiters.
Yeah, it's a loud 9 minutes from him.
A loud 9 minutes. Can I offer one other person?
Yeah.
This is my favorite character in the movie, and I'm going to tell you about him. And then from now on, anytime you watch this movie, you're going to get so excited when he shows up on the screen. But when Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum get onto the mothership, they show up, and there's an alien who's working like shuttle intake. Like he's in charge of getting the ships in and out. And he's just there like a regular day of work, like drinking coffee and doing emails. You see him in his little cubicle. And every time he shows up, I just get so happy because this world, it's like a world ending event. And it's like a Tuesday. And he's whatever, just, oh, God, get the ships in and out. That's all I'm worried about. Every single time you see him, you're going to laugh now when you watch it because it just looks ridiculous to see the alien in there fucking tip-tapping away with his tentacles. I love him. He's my favorite.
Recasting couch. Recasting couch. I'm going to give you a number 2 option. I wanted more from the Area 51, the wacky doctor.
From
I just feel like just go get Christopher Lloyd. Just get him.
Doc Brown.
Yeah, just get Doc Brown. Just have him have maybe not quite as crazy hair, but just it's a wink to the 80s and just have Doc Brown in there. But
I think it should have been Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper, great. Whoever. Just give me a real famous person as the Area 51 doctor who's just, how about this? How about Pacino? Just for 2 scenes. Wow. Here's $10 million.
They don't let me outside very much.
I've got aliens in Jaws. I've got a spaceship hovering over me.
You know who's looking at us? Aliens, motherfucker.
I had coffee with the head alien half an hour ago.
It makes me so happy to think about the Rewatchables has become like this juggernaut podcast that everybody in America listens to. And it all started because y'all just wanted to do Al Pacino impressions for a few minutes.
Shay, the 200th episode, the reheat is coming. If you want in, we got you to like that movie.
Listen,
I'm so ready.
I would never step in on that one. I think that one has to be
the reheat. We're just gonna keep doing it until Michael Mann wants to join us. My number 1 recasting couch. This is going to get uncomfortable for 5 minutes. Just so you know, sometimes my instincts are right on certain actors. I've said for years that Amy Adams was the Alex Smith of A-list actresses, and I feel like I was proven right. She's fine. She's not great. She's fine. You can win 11 games with her. You can make round 2 of the playoffs, but ultimately that's where you're going. I've never been a Mary McDonnell person. I've never gotten it. I think she's the same person in every single movie. And I just don't understand it. And her as the first lady, her being married to Bill Pullman, I don't get any of it. Just give me Demi Moore. Give me like 4 Demi Moore scenes and I'm good. She's
so
barely
if you have
in the movie.
Demi Moore as the first lady, do you still want her to die?
I think that would be more shocking. It's like, whoa, Demi Moore died.
Right.
She's bleeding internally. She'll be fine. Wait, she's dead? Mary McDonnell, I'm expecting her to die the whole movie.
I like Mary McDonnell. She's good on Battlestar. She's good in John Sayles movies. I like her. But I see what you're saying.
I'm just saying. This is one of my things.
They have a chance there. They could have had, like, if they brought like a cameo huge actress in and then still had the character die, it would have been really shocking.
Yeah. I just like if it's going to be where the person's only on set for 3 days, go big.
It should have been, Bill, it should have been Sharon Stone.
Oh my God, Sharon Stone would have been amazing. I never would have expected Sharon Stone to die. The half-assed internet research, the idea for the film came when Emmerich was promoting Stargate, and a reporter asked him why he made the film if he did not believe in aliens. He said he was fascinated by them. And then he's asked the reporter, what would it be like? Imagine waking up one morning, there's a 15-mile wide spaceship hovering over your city. That would be crazy. And then he turned to Devlin, who he was with, and he's like, I think I have an idea for our next movie. And that was it. That's how it started. U.S. military was originally in. Why do you think they bowed out, Shay? What was it?
I do not know.
Area
What was it?
51. They
They
were
were
like, we're
scared.
out.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense.
They were
Oh,
That
you're
scared
makes
of
bringing
the
this
truth.
shit up, I'm out.
sense.
3,000 plus special effect shots. They did this was old school where they created models of the different things they had to blow up. So they had this model of the White House that was 10 feet by 5 feet, and they blew that up. And that's how they did a lot of the destruction stuff. They used the White House interior set, had already been built for American president and also used for Nixon. So that set was pretty busy. This film has 6 Oscar nominees. Let's go game show. We'll go back and forth, and whoever can't get the 6th one, the other person wins. Shea, you go first. Give me the first Oscar nominee in this movie.
Will Smith.
Chris?
Goldblum?
Okay. Shea?
Pullman.
Eh.
Damn it.
Chris, you can win if you come up with one more Oscar nominee.
Does Judd Hirsch have an Oscar nomination?
He sure does. Chris Wright is our winner.
Boo.
Also, Robert Loggia, Mary
Yeah.
McDonnell, and Randy Quaid somehow got an Oscar nomination. I love this one. They did a screening at the White House for Bill Clinton, and he loved it.
I bet he did.
And then somebody told him, somebody in the oral history, they said, Vivica Fox said, I got to introduce myself to Bill Clinton. And he was like, I loved you in Independence Day, Vivica. I was like, I bet you did, Bill. Stay away. Do you remember there was a big VHS marketing campaign for this movie, Chris?
Vaguely.
6 weeks, $30 million.
Jesus.
Woo.
And it sold 22 million copies, became the best-selling live-action video ever. This did come up in the research. Most of the scenes with Jeff Goldblum and Judd Hirsch or Will Smith was improvised. They used 70 mock news broadcasts for the film. This is my favorite one, though. Emmerich remembers one day Robert Loggia was very upset refusing to leave his trailer. Apparently, a producer had suggested to him a few days earlier that he should watch Airplane for inspiration for the movie. He meant to say airport, but he said airplane. So Robert Loggia watched Airplane and then was confused and thought they were making a spoof movie and not telling him, and was furious and wouldn't leave his trailer, and they had to smooth it out.
That's
this is
incredible.
an actual thing
That's
happened.
incredible. That's incredible.
Actual moment. And that's it. Apex Mountain. Will Smith?
Why are you
No.
why are you shirking
It's got to be
from it?
Men in Black, right?
Men
Men in Black.
Yeah.
Now he's got
It's either-
3.
Oh, I would think it
It's
was either
either-
this or Bad Boy.
It's either this or Bad Boys 2.
I think it's Men in Black, because after Men in Black, I think he could have made any movie he wanted for whatever salary he named.
Yeah.
Because now he's 3 for 3, but it could be this. I think it's got to be this movie or Men in Black.
I
in
think
terms
that-
of most juice, everything.
Should
I
we
think
talk
Men
about
in
the
Black or Bad Boys 2.
why wasn't Will Smith's peak longer? Is it really because of Wild Wild West? Did that really just destroy it?
No, because he decided he just was going to make giant blockbuster movies and never, he didn't follow the model of some of the other great A+ listers of just, you got to weave in the occasional something. And then by the mid 2000s, he figured that out, right? And he at least tried a couple, but I just think he did the same type of movie too many times, right?
Yeah.
He was just going for
iRobot.
the biggest box office
that stuff,
over and
yeah.
over again.
Yeah.
But he passed up some good ones over the last 25 years, There's a couple think of how many Denzel movies
Well, I mean,
Will
the big
Smith
one-
have also made, right?
and the
he
big
could
one
have
is
been in
J-
Man on Fire and been awesome.
It's Django too, because that was the one.
Django was the worst one, yeah.
Django's the one that he was up for, or that he could have done apparently.
Shea, Will Smith and Man on Fire,
Yeah, absolutely.
better or worse?
Sign me up. It's not going to be better than Denzel.
Can't be better than
There's
Denzel.
no
No.
movie you can take Denzel out of and put someone
I
else in.
can't.
that
I can't
becomes
really
better.
imagine Will Smith putting a bomb up another person's behind.
Craig always asked me, what happened? Are we going to run out of movies?
No.
And I'm like,
No.
I mean, we haven't done Man on Fire yet. Like the rewatchables, there's a lot of meat left on the bone. Harry Connick Jr., Apex Mountain.
I think he's
Married to
he's-
Jill Goodacre at this point. She's one of the hottest women in the world, the mid 90s. He's got music stuff. He's got the When Harry Met Sally tale.
When does his Christmas kick in because like Carrie Connick Jr. had like a Christmas album.
Yeah,
yeah.
He was running shit.
Yeah, he was like.
I'm gonna look this up because this is important. So you feel like that was his?
Yeah, when he puts his Christmas album out,
he was going to be the one who, when we were doing recasting, I wouldn't mind swapping him out. If we just need like a funny guy in there, let's get Martin Lawrence in that seat and see what happens. I think that'd been great. I think that'd been great.
That's a good one. Christmas album was 93.
93. Okay.
Yeah. So I think by Independence Day, it's really happening. And then he's actually getting cast as leads, which did not work out as well.
Right.
More Apex Mountain. Bill Pullman, yes. Has to be. It just has to be.
Yeah.
Long, dumbfounded action movie stares. Apex Mountain, or was there a different movie?
I think Jurassic Park is Apex Mountain for long stares because they're looking.
Some people would say Close Encounters.
I like the fight being when they see the Brachiosaurus the first time in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And when Will Smith sees the ship the first time,
and he's like, he's looking at his paper, and then he like sees everybody else, and then he looks up. Yeah.
It's so good. And then Vivica joins them too, and they both do it.
It's probably Jurassic. Vivica A. Fox, I would say yes.
This or Kill Bill, yeah.
Huge part. Alien.
I think set it off for Vivica.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah.
This was the second biggest movie of all time.
Yeah, but she doesn't do a lot in it. And Set It Off, she's like the star.
Okay. Alien invasion movies?
So do you guys prefer this or War of the Worlds?
This.
The Tom Cruise War of the Worlds?
Yeah.
The baseball scene killed War of the Worlds for me. I was never the same. I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe he threw a baseball like that. It rocked my world.
The sound that the alien ships make in War of the Worlds is better. It's like I remember being in a theater and they're playing it where like at the AVX, and it comes in and like all your shit is shaking. That part's better, but just a fun movie to watch in the theater. I think Independence Day gets it.
Concussed aliens, I say definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
But we know so much more now about CTE, so I think that the alien would have been put into some kind of protocol, you know?
Chris Nowinski's tweeting about the alien. It's too bad. Movie president speeches.
I mean, we talked about movie presidents. I would say you could make an argument that this is the apex mountain of the presidency. It's the apex of like the actual presidency.
Just across.
Yeah, because Lewinsky hasn't happened yet.
No, so
we still believe in The Office. We have Dave in 93, and West Wing's coming.
We talked about the fictional presidencies up against. I would say Whitmore is up there with Obama, Kennedy, Lincoln. You know what I mean? In terms of just like
fair
what he accomplishes. The cons, the things going against him is he did nuke one of his own cities. That's definitely going to be a mark.
There's going to be some fallout.
There's going to be literal fallout. There might be some PR. It might be hard to spin that. Pros, great public speaker and can fly. So like, I don't know.
All right. So I was going to do this later, but let's do it now. Are we sure President Whitmore was a good president? Tells nobody to evacuate for hours on end. There's giant 15-mile spaceships over every major city. It's like,
where can you evacuate?
Specifically targeted huge cities with the most people. And he's like, no, let's see this. Let's see what happens. Let's play it out. Nukes his own city and then goes to fight maybe to certain death. Who's going to run the country?
I think the implication is if this doesn't work, it doesn't matter.
Anyway?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I think if you didn't leave your city, you saw those ships and you didn't leave, that's on you. You shouldn't need somebody to tell you to get out of the water when there's a shark by.
Right.
Okay. Not sure he was a great president. I feel like the evacuation could have been a lot sooner.
Well, my big question is like, that's my big unanswerable question is like, what are we looking at after this?
Yeah.
Like, what's he the president of? Or are we like in a straight up like The Road where dudes are eating dog food and like there are cannibals on the road? Like what? How fast can we get America propped up again?
It's like LA right now. I don't know. What we're losing all three major cities. So maybe like Dallas becomes the alpha dog city or Chicago for some, and also if you're in Chicago, are you mad you didn't get a spaceship over your city? Like, do you have to?
That's
do
right.
you have to reconsider your status as one of the 3 biggest cities?
Yeah. Somehow the Dallas Cowboys come out unscathed from this.
I have a last Apex Mountain. Computer viruses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It's early in the whole computer virus thing. It becomes a key focal point of the movie. People are still kind of figuring out the old internet thing, and then it becomes a huge plot point, and I think it worked. Picky Nits. The strip joint stayed open during the alien fleet invasion.
You really
the
think that's a
spaceships are
nitpick?
all over the cities, and they're like, hey, should we close the strip joint? No.
Get to work.
Let's keep going.
Do you think, like,
ladies, we have customers.
Do you think the casinos would have closed? I mean, like, I don't.
I would assume everything would close if there's 15-mile spaceships. What's open? Where are you going? I just want to be with my family for the last 2 hours before
There's a
we
few
all get
people out
blown
there
up.
who might not want to be with their family for the last
Yeah,
few
man,
hours.
that's fair. That's fair. I also was confused why everybody reacted so happily to the alien invasion, where people are.
Well, I think that's kind of part of the sort of that pop culture moment with aliens, where it was like, take me to your leader, and like it was like, what if the aliens are cool and stuff like that? Like that's supposed to be people being like, yeah, cool aliens.
Yeah.
Shay, any other pick and nits for you?
I didn't see one single nit that needed to be picked when I rewatched this. Everything lined up perfect.
I actually thought I agree with you. I thought it's pretty solid. Chris, you have
It
anything?
all made sense.
I thought that Judd Hirsch and Jeff Goldblum being able to get from Manhattan to Washington, D.C. and inside the White House within 6 hours, given the fact that there would be apocalyptic traffic on I-95 South, is pretty. It can take more than 4 hours to get from New York to Washington on a good day. So
True. So you think there's an alternate script where they're just on the highway?
they
for
just die on
5 days?
I-95. Yeah.
It's like, I had the code. This sucks.
The
I
part
could've saved this.
when Goldblum and Will Smith have to hightail it out of the mothership and they're like squeezing through the thing at the last possible minute.
Yeah.
This was like one of the first times I watched a movie and that happened. And then I was like, oh, they just did that. That's like the Bad Boys 2. The Bad Boys ending. It's the exact same thing with the 2 cars when they're racing and one's got to get in front of the other one. That's how you drive. That's great.
Right. Could this be remade as a 10-episode Netflix show? We all agree, yes. I think you can run this back.
Sign me
I
up.
actually wouldn't be shocked if Netflix did this.
They should
Fit their
give Will
weird
Smith
algorithm.
a
They should.
boat full of money. So when they did part 2, without Will Smith, I think it makes like $380 million. If you have Will Smith in there, that's automatically doubled. Like,
Yeah,
what are
but
you doing? What are you
50
doing?
million was a no-brainer.
What are you doing?
I did not see Independence Day 2.
I didn't even bother to watch it, and I watched
Yeah.
everything.
I know.
And I was
It's
like, no,
if you don't have
he's
Will
not in
Smith,
it.
I'm out.
But this is the thing,
Yeah.
is that like people think that everything should be remade or they're rebooted or there should be a sequel. And like there is a certain obvious like charm to this movie. But I don't leave this movie being like, I really needed to find out more about those aliens. What was what was their plan? What was it like? There's not a universe that I want to explore or I want expanded. Like this is a perfect standalone movie. We beat the aliens. Bill Pullman's president. Will Smith kicks ass. I don't need to know what happens next. I actually don't want to know.
You know what my theory is on that is somebody said, hey, it'd be a fucking cool ass trailer is we take the speech from the first Independence Day and we just show like whatever we want and we play that in the background. Because when that happened, when that trailer came out and they did that thing in it, I was like, oh, fuck yes. Because I got so excited about the speech. And I'm like, they're bringing everybody back. And then you find out it wasn't that and it became like sucky. But my theory is somebody just thought that was going to be a cool trailer. Let's do that. And then they made a whole movie just for that.
I think if you're going to do a sequel, I think it goes rom-com style because Pullman and Margaret Colin's character, you can't tell me there wasn't like a little bit of a something there.
Oh yeah.
He loses his wife.
Love triangle
She's
there.
with Goldblum, but who the fuck wants to stay with Jeff Goldblum for that long? And maybe it's a love triangle. It's a love triangle rom-com with the presidency rebuilding America, and that's our sequel. Like way less special effects, way less expensive.
Right.
It's
Way less aliens.
It's directed by Steven Soderbergh. It's an intellectual kind of rom-com.
We could have just
thriller.
called it like Infrastructure Week. It's just all about rebuilding the roads and bridges.
Yeah, and she's got to choose.
Yeah.
That's the end of the movie.
Good idea.
Could this be remade as a 10-episode Netflix show? We all said yes. I had should Margaret Cullen have ended up with Bill Pullman. I really watch this movie every time and just expect that they're going to end up together. And then she's like, I'm going to be with Jeff Goldblum and stuck with his weird dad. Like, it's just a bad career move there. Do you think this movie invented computer viruses? Probably not.
No.
Popularized them?
Maybe, yeah.
Do you think Randy Quaid became the guy from this movie in real life? Like he method acted, something snapped, and it just became him.
Oh, so you think it's the performance is what triggered it?
Yeah.
I gather not.
Any other answerable questions?
I gather not. No.
Shea, what piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie?
The spaceship. They have the whole spaceship. Give me the spaceship. I'm fucking in outer space where a spaceship belongs. I'm out of here. I'm fucking gone.
Chris, what do you want?
I think I'd like Jeff Goldblum's laptop. That was they really made sturdy little like Mac laptops back then, or the Victory Dance cigar.
That's good. I was thinking I don't even know if this exists, but the replica of the White House that they blew up.
Oh yeah,
there was a second one.
Yeah.
Before I think that would be cool to have 10 by 5. Shea, you could have that right behind you in your office.
Also,
that would be awesome.
I'm sure he's passed on by now, but Boomer seems like a really solid dog.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You could stuff him like in scrubs. If I need like something that I can like have at my house, I'll take the parachute that Will Smith drags the alien in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Who won the movie? I think we probably
unanimous decision. Will Smith.
Will Smith, baby.
Nobody wants to make the Bill Pullman case?
I mean, he has the best, my favorite scene in the movie, but Will Smith makes this movie what it is.
Yeah.
All right. We all agree. Independence Day. Shea Serrano, Chris Ryan. What's the next giant disaster blockbuster we're doing? Should we open up
2012.
To
oh, yeah. Let's open it up.
So you're in on 2012?
Of course. You know, like 2012?
I haven't seen it in a while.
Oh, go watch it. You're going to love it.
I think we might have to do White House Down.
Oh shit!
So that's the one I'm gonna watch. I'm watching that this weekend. I got to fly back this weekend. I think I'm downloading White House Down, and I'm just banging that. What was the sequel?
Well, no, it was Olympus Has Fallen, and then it was like London Has Fallen, right?
Yeah,
but then
White House Down wasn't.
White
House
Down only had one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
White House Down is Channing Tatum and Jamie Foxx,
right?
And then after that, they bring Gerard Butler in.
All of these movies ripped off the 24 season when they attacked the White House. They just were like, ooh, cool. Let's just make that a movie.
Right. We'll do that.
Yeah, cool. All right, Shea, Chris, a pleasure. As always, this podcast was produced by the one and only, a strapping, handsome guy, Craig Horlbeck. We will see you next week. We have some good rewatchables coming over the next couple months. So we will see you next week.